Well, hello everybody. It is myself, because after all, who are any of us but ourselves? What is yourself? You know, a lot of people struggle with that question all their lives. And in this video, it may be answered, but probably not, because we'll be talking about this. Now, I've cut it in half, which was a bit of a silly decision to do in advance, but this is a Christmas melon, or a Santa Claus melon. And if we zoom in real close, maybe we can get a better look, and you should be able to tell why it is also known as a toad skin melon, because it has this green outer skin on it. And if we get in close to the microphone here, you can maybe able to tell, or if we maybe if I zoom in real close here, where I've cut it open, you can't really see, but the rind is a bit thicker than what we usually see on a similar sort of melon, like a rock melon or a honeydew. Because after all, this isn't really like a watermelon, but if you've ever cut open a rock melon or a honeydew along the middle like this, you'll see they look quite similar inside, except for the flesh on this is quite pale. You know, even with honeydew, which does get quite pale, it's usually more green, but this is almost a white. You know, there's not much color to it at all. But yes, on the outside we have the green, and it's very thick, very strong stuff, and it does have yellow patches, which will turn more bright yellow as it goes on, as it matures, as it gets riper. And that's also something interesting to note about the Christmas melon. Why is it called a Christmas melon? I don't know. But from what I can tell, piece together, different sources, different information seems to claim that it's called a Christmas melon because it lasts so long, because it's got this thicker skin. It does last a bit longer. If you sort of leave it out, it can last, you know, weeks and weeks, allegedly anyway. Because it's hardy, you know, it's hardy like something hard, like a rock, but unlike a rock, also edible, like rock candy. So that's the sort of thing that might leap out to you first, if you have the good fortune to see a Christmas melon. It's thick skin, you know, thick and interesting skin, and it's also more of a strange shape, more of an oval shape. Though, for those of you who have low impulse control and just want to grab this and, you know, throw it as if it were a football, I believe they come in more rounder, spherical sizes as well. They're bred that way, but originally they did all come more or less like this, in this oval shape, this egg shape, as it were. Now, how can you tell if your Christmas melon is ripe? Well, that's more difficult than it would be with a rock melon, because even with a rock melon, which does have a harder skin than, say, like a peach or an apricot or something like that, you can still tell how soft it is. And this, if you squeeze down, which this is ripe, this is overripe actually, this Christmas melon, you don't get much feedback because the skin is so hard. But what you can tell is the brightness of the yellow bits here, and they reckon, you know, you can tell from the softness of the ends how ripe this is. Now this has just started to sort of decompose. It's sort of ripe on this side. I've heard that it's supposed to go a sort of yellow color, like this bit here, and then you can tell it's good eating. But this one has started to turn, but it's still edible, it's still good, you know. So we are here quickly doing this review before all is lost. Now, what else is to say about the Christmas melon? Well, from what I can tell, it's called a Christmas melon either one or two reasons. Because it lasts so long. That is to say, it lasts until Christmas, which is what Wikipedia I think says. But that strikes me as a very strange reason to call something something. You know, you don't. I've had boxes of sweet potato, and I've had, you know, I'll buy 30 kilos at a time, and I don't keep them in a refrigerator or anything, and I just leave them to sit at room temperature, and they last forever and ever. They don't decompose, and I don't go around and say, hey, have you picked up, can you go to the store and pick me up some Christmas potato? People would look at me like I'm an idiot, and rightly so. So I don't know about the legitimacy of this reason, but the other reason I found is because this melon really relies on warmer climates, I suppose, to grow. It originally comes from Spain, which is, you know, quite a bit warmer, hotter than England or Germany or something like that. I know it can be, here in Australia, it can be grown all year round. So in summer, I think they grow it in the southern part, and then in the winter, the crop in the northern area of Australia will start to grow them. It's sort of the reverse of how it is in America, which is the other place I've gotten the reasoning for it to be called a Christmas melon is it can only really be grown in America during summer, and but it wasn't originally grown in America during the summer. It was originally, being Spanish, was grown in Southern America, and so these melons, which could only be grown in the summer in the Southern Hemisphere, which would be the later months, that would be December, November, well, the summer would be December, January, February, but the warmer months in any case, so they would move, these Christmas melons would be imported into America towards Christmas in the Southern Hemisphere summer, which would be the Northern Hemisphere winter, which would be Christmas, so they come up during Christmas time. But fortunately, these are available all year round. I think wherever you are in the world, you know, apart from maybe Asia, but in all the Western areas, in Europe, in America, in Australia, you can get Christmas melons. Probably, you know, as far as I can tell, obviously I don't travel to supermarkets all around the world. They're not really a readily available thing like a rock melon or a cantaloupe or a honeydew might be, but they are growing increasingly common, I believe. The Christmas melon, the Santa Claus melon, the winter melon, the toad skin. So maybe if you go down to your local market or something, you might see it there and you say, wow, what's that? Good thing I watched this informative video, otherwise I'd have no idea what I was even looking at. I think it was a dinosaur egg and just run away. But luckily I'm here to give you my meager knowledge on this strange fruit. But fortunately for everybody, it's not actually that strange, because like like I pointed out before, it does bear a remarkable similarity to rock melons, honeydews, cantaloupes, muskmelons, all that sort of canary melons, Crenshaw melons, all those sorts of melons, in exactly how it looks, and I'm going to go ahead and guess how it tastes as well. So we've already been through what it looks like, how you can tell whether it's ripe. I've heard that you want to sort of, when you buy it, you want to let it sit almost like tomatoes. You want to let it not sit outside the refrigerator, outside of room temperature, 1 or 2 days before you actually want to eat it, to let it really ripen up, to really, you know, get the flavor going, get the juices moving. So that is what I've done. Actually, I think it's been more than a couple of days. And you know, these things, you've got to take them with a grain of salt. When I heard that, you know, this melon, it's called a Christmas melon because it lasts such a long time, you know, it'll last till Christmas. Well, I thought, wow, I can just leave this around for weeks and weeks. Well, I think I bought this before, one of these before, and it didn't last that long. And this one, like I've said, is starting to go bad quite quickly, and I think I bought it a few days ago. So in my experience, that hasn't worked out that well. Now, that's not to say that it will last less time than another melon, like a rock melon, because I think it'll definitely last longer. But if you're just going to throw fruit around willy-nilly in the kitchen and say, well, I read on the internet that it'll last, a dog's age, well, that's just not going to happen. I mean, it depends where you are. Like I said, here in Australia, it's spring now. It'll be summer soon, and it is quite hot. So really, anything that I leave out is going to degrade quite quickly. But I think if you lived in somewhere colder, you could leave it out. But then again, that's not anything unique to this particular melon. You can leave anything out. If you lived in Siberia, you can leave anything out in the bloody cold, and it would be frozen solid for eons and eons. So the hardiness, the longevity of this melon is really yet to be proven to me, apart from, maybe it'll last one day extra than your standard rock melon or something. But really, I mean, does that make that much of a difference to most people? Probably not. Now, the horned melon, that was a long-lasting melon. I'll tell tales to my grandchildren about the longevity of the horned melon. But anyway, I think I've said all I really have to say about the toad skin here, which is perhaps not the most appetizing name, but it is very descriptive. If I said to you, go to the store, grab me a toad skin melon, and you'd never heard of it, never seen one before, and you went into the store, you saw one of these, you'd say, that's what he's on about. That's a toad skin melon. Whereas if I said a Christmas melon, you'd say, oh, what on earth? But it is a bit green, so perhaps it does bring mind to festive colours and the most wonderful time of the year, which is rapidly approaching. So we're going to go ahead, dive into this, and see how it tastes. Well, what can we say about the Christmas melon, the Santa Claus melon? What can we say about it? Well, what it really reminds me of, though I must confess it has been months and months, and not even months, but years, perhaps decades, I wouldn't go that far, but a very long time since I've had a honeydew. That's really what it reminds me of. It has a very similar taste to a honeydew, but I would say probably stronger and a bit sweeter. One of the complaints that people will often have about honeydew when they go to buy it is that, especially if you don't get the ripeness particularly right, honeydew can be quite flavorless, and that can be true for watermelon and rockmelon as well. But honeydew, I think, is a bit of a more subtle flavor than those two, and so if you're in the market for the flavor of honeydew, and you are in the market and you've got a choice between honeydew and this one here, maybe you want to give this one a go, because this really does give the flavor of the honeydew. It even has a similar sort of color. It's greenish, very, very pale greenish, but it does taste quite sweet, and as I said, a more stronger flavor than the original honeydew, the honeydew 1.0. As for everything else, it's all quite similar. If you eat the seeds, there's no flavor there. They're not a very nice texture. They don't crunch apart pleasantly on the teeth. There's not much to say about that. This one, now, here's where it gets a bit tricky. The texture of the flesh, the edible bits of this, It is a bit crumbly, a bit floury. It's not very firm, but I think that might be just because this is getting on a bit. This is probably a bit overripe, so it is sort of starting to break apart. You know, if you buy a watermelon that's overripe, those can be very good for juicing, for putting in your blender, in your NutriBullet or what have you. But when you bite into it, it just sort of becomes mush in your mouth, and it's not very pleasant. And I'm sort of getting that vibe here. But again, I think that's probably just because it's old. You know, if you got one of these and you left it out for one day and it wasn't starting to cave in at the end, so you knew it was still good, I don't think you'd have that problem. I think it would still have retain that same firmness that you get from a rock melon. That makes it so good in fruit salads, let's say. But again, much more of that flavor from the honeydew angle, and a bit, again, a bit more sweeter. It has a bit more of that confectionery sort of undertaste to it. Now, what else can we say about this that hasn't been said already? Not much. I don't think this is very interesting, to be honest with you. Like the, I mean, I know I'm gonna spend probably 20 minutes on this video talking about it, which seems like a strange thing to do about something that's not very interesting. But I don't think this is very interesting in what we can get from it health-wise. Am I going to be going out every day, every week, making sure I get my weekly supply of toad skin melons so I can stay healthy and fit as a fiddle? Well, probably not. I mean, from what I can tell, it doesn't really give you anything that you're not going to get from other fruit, let's say. It doesn't provide you with any amazing benefits. It has vitamin C, and quite a bit of vitamin C. You know, if you eat a whole one of these, you probably get like I don't know, 5 times the recommended daily intake of vitamin C, which isn't going to do you any harm, certainly. But I mean, how many people sit around and eat a whole melon in one sitting? Probably not many. But you know, it's better than going around, if you're trying to lose weight anyway, it's better than going around and buying an ice cream or buying a bag of candy and snacking on that instead. So if those are your choices, then I can't help but recommend it. You know, it's very low calories. I think a whole melon, in any case, a rock melon, a honeydew, or one of these, a Crenshaw melon, a canary melon, whatever it may be, it's probably under 200 calories for the whole thing. So really, it's bugger all. But and you know, it's not unhealthy, of course, but like I said, you're not getting anything amazing out of it. You're not getting some it's not a superfood, of course, which is really the thing we want to be looking out for in today's modern age. Are we getting enough superfoods? That's the question we want to be asking ourselves. It doesn't contain some amazing benefit that'll help you fry your enemies with lasers from your eyes or anything like that. Certainly not. In that aspect, it's not particularly interesting. But again, one of the things I've brought up with these videos is that it is good to go out there and try things that, at least for me, it's good to go out there and try things that we don't try very often, we don't see very often. Especially if they're healthy, you know. I'm not suggesting you go out there and eat a slab of 2 meters of licorice or something. Not that if you want to eat licorice, that's your business. But I don't know where I'm going with this. Health-wise, fruit is always better. And when I go out and I see fruits that I haven't tried, I'm almost overcome with the desire to just grab them and try them right away, because variety is the spice of life. And I think if you go out there and if you have a bit of a sweet tooth, you want to try something different, why not pick up a Christmas melon? Of course, it's not unhealthy. But if you're someone who is really into nutrition and you want to make sure you're getting the most healthy, vitamin-dense things out of your diet than you can be, well, I'm not going to recommend this based on any of that. But as I said, it's a wonderful fruit in its own right. Tastes fine if you like honeydew. Plenty of people, people despise honeydew. I discovered recently. It's always very strange to me how irate some people will get just at the smell, at the look of things they dislike, and even just fruits. I remember one day I was sitting by myself, just peaceably trying to eat a mango. Mangoes, they don't come around. They're not available, at least where I live, for about half the year. You can get imported mangoes and such, but mangoes are grown domestically here in Australia. I remember when mangoes were out of season. I'm really going off on a tangent here. Mangoes were out of season. I bought one imported from Mexico. I thought, wow, I've never had a Mexican mango before, and you know what? It was bloody rubbish. But anyway, I was sitting by myself, minding my own business. At an old job of mine, eating a mango, and a woman I worked with came into the staff room when I was having myself this mango, and she was disgusted, distraught, I would say. She said, "I don't know how you can eat that crap. It's disgusting. Even the smell of it makes me want to gag." And she stormed out to go smoke a cigarette to clear her lungs from the foul stench of the mango. And really, a lot of people are like that. Some people are like that with honeydew. So if you're looking for a Christmas present, hey, there's that reference again. Christmas, the event, Christmas, the birth of Jesus, Christmas, the melon. It's all lining up. If you've got a friend and they really hate honeydew, but you want to get them a gift, you think, hey, I'll get them a Christmas melon. Don't do that, because they probably won't like it. That's all I have to say about the Santa Claus melon today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative for you. It wasn't really that informative for me, but we'll get through all the fruit and veg at the end, and at least I've tried this, and I'm a bit more informed about the world. It wasn't a bad experience. We laughed, we cried, and it's a memory we'll treasure forever, I'm sure. Good night, everybody. Have a lovely day.